The next node of interest that we'll consider is the Q node. This is located in this location of the first group of nodes. Click and hold to drag it up to the editing screen and release. The Q node is always followed by what's called a service activity, so we'll talk about the service activity in a second. The Q node can be any label. This is where things wait. You must also give it a file number, a unique file number. This is just simply a number starting at the first Q node with 1 and adding 1 each time you add another Q node. Each Q node should have a unique file number, so we'll give this file number 1. Each initial number in the queue, usually this is 0, but you can start it out with some entities in the queue. And the queue can have a capacity, either an infinite capacity, which is fairly typical, or a finite capacity. If you have a limited capacity, say 5, then you must say what happens when the queue is full. The options are to bulk to another node, and in this field you simply put the label of the other node, like alternative for service. So ALT might be that option. So if I click OK, then this gets added to this node. The name of the node is wait. There's 0 initially. We have a capacity of 5, and the file to store the entities is file number 1. If I double click this again, I get the full options. I'm going to change this back to infinite, and we have no full action. If it's infinite, click OK, and that's what the node looks like in that case. There's one other option. If we have a finite capacity, say 5, we can block the upstream activities. If we do that, we click OK, and we see 2 parallel lines. This queue, if we are to have blocking, must be preceded by a an activity, a service activity coming into this node, and it simply means that these this particular queue keeps the service activity from emptying out, and any entity in service has to wait there. So let's switch back to the normal use of the Q node, which is to have an infinite capacity. So we'll change this back to infinite and no full action. A service activity always follows a queue, and to get a service activity, we simply click on the activity icon, and the cursor changes to this form. We click on the start node, and then we double click for the end of the activity. We can also hook it into another node. So the activity can have a unique activity number. This must be the only one it has, the only one to have this activity number, so we'll give it an activity number 1. Duration is the time. Again, usually that's a random function, and a lot of times we choose exponential service time, put in the mean, say in this case we'll put in 10. Okay. Conditions we'll cover later. Typically service activities don't use a condition, but we'll talk about that later. Number of servers. If you have duplicate servers, these are servers that are parallel to the original servers. In other words, instead of having 1, we have 2 servers to service an activity. We can put a 2 there. The identifier is just some alphanumeric string that you want to put in to identify this service activity. You can also put on the end node label, where we'll go, say, send it to a terminate node called leave. If I click OK, then that's what the server and the Q node combination looks like. So any activity that follows a queue is always what's called a service activity. It has a resource associated with it called a server. There can be 1 or more servers available and that of course depends on the particular system that you have.